So he handed me that and said, oh, I thought you'd be interested in this, because he knew I was teaching some of this in my classes by this time. And that really got things going in my mind. That was probably about 1996 or 7 by the time I saw that journal. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm not just making this up. Somebody actually thought that lawyers are having problems enough to study it, a team of psychologists, and put it in the Journal of Law and Health. And so I decided to write a paper about it, which was a remarkable decision for me, because I'm a clinical teacher, had absolutely no desire to write a paper about anything. You know, that was part of my job conditions when I took this job with the former dean was, I'm not expected to write. He said, no, it's not part of your job, because I thought I really wanted to teach. Which turned out to be true. I did really want to teach. But once I got onto this and I realized my teaching is not going to be effective for these students unless I can also teach them this piece. And so I thought, you know, maybe I'll write an article. But before that happened, I started, because I was active in the clinical movement. I was kind of one of the committee chairs for a while of the externship section of the clinical section of the AALS. I started talking at legal education conferences about this whole thing, the Maslow idea, and what's going on at law schools and why lawyers are depressed, and maybe it starts in law schools and so forth. And of course, I suppose this goes without saying, all unintentionally, no one wants to depress anyone else. I haven't seen that yet. Everyone is good-hearted. The teachers, over so long now that I've worked with this, the more teachers I talk to, and the more people that come to conferences and seminars and the different things that we put on, the more it's really clear that law teachers are more aware of this than they would like to be, these kind of negative effects on law students and the problems in the profession, but because we all feel so helpless about it, we don't know where it's coming from, we don't know what to do about it, we're not psychologists, maybe it's just the nature of the game, after all it's a tough profession, you know, you hear all these things, that people just don't talk about it. But everyone cares about it when you confront them with it. Or else they'll say it's not happening, they just don't see it, and so they don't believe it, which is okay, that's a legitimate point of view. You know, everyone is entitled to a point of view. But I started talking at conferences about what I was teaching, and this is a little unit by now it had developed, because one thing I didn't mention, that first class, when I jumped down and I drew Maslow up there and I said, how are you all feeling now? Where are you? Are you in self-esteem? Are you feeling good about yourself? Are you in self-actualization? I'm becoming the person I really want to be? You know? Are you feeling close to each other? Are you in love and where are you? And they were all in survival and security. From that day on, I decided, you know, we need to do something. And the next semester, I did it again. I just did it as a little piece of one class. And in that semester, more than half my students came up to me after, because I planned it, so it fit in somewhere. It wasn't this spontaneous thing. More than half the students came up to me and sought me out, either in my office, in the hall, or after class, just to tell me, thanks, that is helping. So it was really touching on something that people were living but no one talked about. I've also studied a lot of addictionology as part of the psychology business that I do, and I know that that's one of the ways that problems stay in place, is people don't talk about it. We're also bright. We're also intelligent. And, you know, it's the law school thing. You've got to be smart to get into law school. There's nothing we can't fix if we will talk about it and think about it. There's really nothing other than, you know, world peace, you know, that may be for another day, but this is a piece of that, even. I mean, you're not going to have world peace if the individuals in the world are all stressed out. Can't happen. and we're contributing our stresses in the legal profession, as we know. So I was talking at these conferences about this experience, with this beginning experience with students that I was having, just within my skills class, pre-trial and trial practice skills. And the law teachers loved it. Now, these were clinical conferences, so these are people that work with law students in smaller numbers, not the giant lecture classes, although many of them were tenured people that also taught first-year contracts towards whatever, but many weren't. But I got the same response there that I got from my students in that first group, which was, wow, that really makes sense. And I remember one woman from Washington, D.C., I won't mention her name, but I remember her well, came up and said, boy, I wish I'd have heard this in law school. And I said, Marlena, I'll mention her first name, I have been thinking about that a lot since I've been teaching this. I wish I'd have heard this in law school too. Because it would have made everything so much more fun than feeling like you have to win or else you're a loser. And all these dysfunctional ideas somehow we're picking up as we go through law training and law practice. So there are a lot of other ideas, but that was one of them. So I think at that point then I was ready to write the paper. I started getting confirmation that this wasn't crazy, and a lot of people were feeling the same things and needed an outlet to talk about it. So I wrote a paper which went in the Journal of Law and Health. Not coincidentally, I asked them, would you be willing to publish a sort of a follow-up to that thing? And they said yes. And so that's really the only thing that got me to write a paper the first time, because I really had no pretenses of being a writer. As a matter of fact, I was invited to be on Law Review when I was a law student because my grades were high, and I didn't even know what Law Review was. I was ignorant. I'd been in the military before I went to law school, and I came right out and went to law school, and so I went and talked to the editor about, so what's Law Review? And she explained it to me, and I just thought, that doesn't sound like fun to me. She said, well, I like it. I said, great, I guess I'm a different person. And so ultimately I decided not to be on there. I really didn't see myself as a writer, particularly a detail-oriented writer. And I still don't. I mean, I do it because I feel like I have something to say now through the work that I've been able to do. But that's where so those statistics, when I saw those in that first Journal of Law and Health, and then started talking about it, and then started the Humanizing Legal Ed listserv, I published the first paper. All this happened around '99. I think my paper was published, my first sort of thinking about it and what's really wrong and what we can do about it piece. And then we started the listserv right after that, probably around 2000, and hundreds of people got on it, and we've been going ever since, now up to having a section of the IILS. But the statistics really are striking when you look at them. With my science background, when the dean gave me that, it was all science, it was numbers. And I thought, wow, look at this. 36% interpersonal sensitivity, 21% depression, 30% anxiety. These are the actual numbers, and they went on like that. And those numbers for the study done in that journal and the methodology they used, the numbers should be 2% for a normal population. Normal meaning a large population at the norm. 2.3%. And the numbers were 10, 15 times that for the lawyers. Oh my God, we need to start talking about this. Let's really give it a good look.